Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, as we dive into one of the most surprising, talked about, and almost unbelievable discoveries in the world of coin collecting, a story that grabs attention the moment you hear it because it blends mystery, rarity, curiosity, and the thrilling possibility that something as ordinary as a pocket change penny could hold a value reaching as high as $75 million. And today we're focusing entirely on the 2017 D1 cent coin, a coin that millions of people have handled without ever realizing that under the right circumstances, with the right combination of errors, mistakes, and minting anomalies, it could transform from a simple everyday coin into an object of staggering worth. And in this deep dive we're going to explore why collectors obsess over the idea of a dramatically flawed 2017 AD penny. What kinds of mistakes could theoretically elevate its value to astronomical levels, how the minting process sometimes produces anomalies that slip through unnoticed, and why the rarest errors generate an excitement that keeps the world of numismatics buzzing with speculation, imagination, and endless possibility. Because when we talk about this coin reaching a value like $75 million, we're not just talking about metal and copper plating, we're talking about the perfect storm of rarity, dramatic error combinations, and demand so intense that collectors are willing to pay unbelievable amounts to secure a piece of numismatic history. And the 2017 AD penny provides the perfect backdrop for imagining what kind of extreme minting mishap could push a modern coin to that level. So let's begin by looking at the Denver Mint in 2017, a year in which billions of pennies were struck, meaning that any coin gaining value must stand out like a diamond in a mountain of gravel. And the easiest way for a penny to stand out is for something truly bizarre to happen during the striking process, something so rare that it exists only once or twice in history. And possibilities start with double dies, off-metal strikes, misaligned dies, die clashes, wrong planchet issues, and even multi-stage errors where 2 or 3 mistakes happen to the same coin, because that's where real value is born. And collectors dream of discovering a coin where the obverse shows doubling so extreme that Lincoln's profile looks like a ghostly shadow overlapping itself, while the lettering shows strong splits and dramatic distortions that prove the doubling is a true minting error, not simple machine doubling which holds almost no value. And imagining a 2017 AD penny with a bold double die on both the obverse and reverse instantly sets the stage for huge value, with the date showing clear doubling, the mint mark appearing shifted, and the inscriptions displaying thickness and separation that catch the eye instantly. But one extraordinary error alone wouldn't justify $75 million, so we imagine deeper anomalies like a coin struck on a completely wrong planchet, such as a leftover silver dime blank or even a foreign coin planchet that somehow slipped into the hopper at the Denver Mint, a mistake that happens so rarely that when it does appear, collectors go wild. And if a 2017 AD penny was struck on a dramatically wrong planchet, especially one that doesn't match the weight, color, or metallic content of a typical penny, it would create an extremely desirable numismatic piece. And now, imagine that this wrong planchet 2017 AD penny also carries a major striking error like being off-center by 40 to 60% in a way that leaves the date, mint mark, and Lincoln's face all perfectly visible while showing a dramatic curved blank edge on one side of the coin, giving it an unmistakable look that makes collectors compete for ownership. And when you layer these errors together, wrong planchet, major off-center strike, and dramatic double die impressions, you start seeing how a coin's value could skyrocket beyond anything we normally expect. But the imagination doesn't stop there, because another possibility is that the coin could exhibit a full blockage error, where another coin becomes jammed between the dies and transfers a mirror image impression onto the next planchet, creating a fully inverted design on one side of the coin. And if a blockage 2017 D penny also happened to be struck on an unusual planchet, the combination would be so strange, so unheard of, that collectors would place it among the rarest minting errors ever discovered, and some might be willing to pay vast amounts simply to own something so uniquely chaotic and historically significant. And let's also consider die rotation errors where the obverse and reverse don't align properly, rotating dramatically beyond the standard tolerance, creating misaligned imagery that immediately signals a major mint mistake. And pairing this with partial collar striking, where the planchet wasn't seated correctly inside the collar during the strike, results in a warped, expanding edge that looks like a railroad rim, drastically altering the coin's profile and giving it an unmistakably rare appearance. And now picture a scenario where one side of the 2017 AD penny exhibits heavy die clash marks, meaning the dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving fragments of Lincoln's face, coat, or lettering ghosted onto the reverse design, and these clash marks would make the coin even more visually intriguing, capturing the precise moment of minting chaos that created its rarity, and another layer of value might come from a minting mistake where the coin lacks copper plating in certain areas, exposing raw zinc underneath in random shapes or patterns caused by improper plating adhesion at the mint, turning the coin into a dramatic two-tone error piece that stands out instantly. And combining this plating error with double dies, off-center striking, and wrong planchet anomalies creates a coin so unusual that collectors would consider it a once-in-a-century masterpiece of minting failure, and if this single 2017 D penny somehow managed to include a transitional error, such as an early experimental planchet intended for future pennies or test strikes not meant for circulation, that layer of historical curiosity alone would push its value far beyond typical rare coins, especially if documentation or expert certification confirmed the legitimacy of the mistake. And collectors would view the coin not just as a minting error but as a historical artifact representing a moment when the mint was transitioning between materials, processes, or machinery, and now imagine the coin also bearing dramatic strike-through errors where foreign objects like cloth fibers, metal shavings, grease, or even tiny fragments of machinery interfered with the striking process, leaving permanent impressions embedded into the coin's surface, creating textures and patterns unlike anything normally seen. And when foreign object strike-throughs blend with wrong planchet errors and double dies, the result is a coin that feels almost like a custom one-of-a-kind piece unintentionally created by the mint itself. And in the world of high-end collectors, the idea of owning something truly unique drives value to incredible heights, and that brings us to another reason a coin like the 2017 D penny could reach $75 million. Provenance, meaning who discovered it, who owned it, and how it traveled through the numismatic world, because provenance adds weight to a coin's legacy, and if it were found in some remarkable circumstance, like being discovered decades later in an untouched mint-sealed bag or discovered during a major auction preview, the excitement would boost its desirability, and high demand among elite collectors can turn a rare coin into a priceless one, especially if bidding wars break out. And a coin like this, with the perfect combination of extreme errors and dramatic visual anomalies, could push wealthy collectors into competition that drives its price beyond any reasonable expectation, and when a coin enters that territory, it becomes legendary, not just another collectible but a symbol of ultimate rarity, and stories about it spread across the numismatic community, drawing more attention, more fascination, and higher valuations. And the idea of a 2017 D penny reaching $75 million is rooted not in the everyday worth of the coin but in the powerful dream that errors, anomalies, and minting accidents can create priceless art from machinery designed for mass production, and collectors know that the more bizarre the error, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially when the error is impossible to replicate and exists only once in the entire mintage, and that's why the 2017 D penny continues to inspire speculation, imagination, and excitement, because even though billions of them were made, the possibility of one extraordinary coin, a coin with extreme double dies, wrong planchet composition, dramatic off-center strikes, brokerage impressions, die clashes, rotation anomalies, plating defects, and strike-through objects all at once, creates a story powerful enough to capture the attention of every collector who dreams of discovering the next multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in plain sight, reminding us that even the smallest coin can hold the biggest surprises, and that's the magic of numismatics, where rarity transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, and where the 2017 D penny stands as a symbol of how a simple minting mistake can ignite imagination, excitement, and the belief that somewhere out there a truly priceless penny may still be wait. Next, 1999 1-cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into another unbelievable and gripping story from the world of rare coins, a world where ordinary pocket change can suddenly transform into mind-blowing treasures, and where the smallest details, the tiniest imperfections, and the rarest minting mishaps can turn a common 1-cent coin into something collectors would fight over. And today we're talking about the legendary 1999 1-cent coin that enthusiasts across the hobby love to discuss, a coin that has become famous not for being old or shiny or made of precious metals but for the extraordinary series of minting anomalies, surprising defects, and mysterious errors that supposedly pushed its speculative value to a staggering $76 million in collector circles, making it one of the most talked about pieces of modern numismatic lore. And while most people see a 1999 cent as nothing more than a copper-plated zinc coin worth exactly a penny, this special specimen tells a different story, sparking debate, curiosity, and imagination because the sheer number of oddities packed into one tiny coin has fueled theories, controversies, an endless fascination. Now imagine you're holding a 1999 penny, a year so recent that many people still have memories tied to it. And yet this particular coin seems to have slipped past the strict quality controls of the US Mint, carrying an array of anomalies that normally never appear together, creating the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery that collectors dream of but rarely encounter, including the first and most eye-catching anomaly where the obverse shows a dramatic double die effect so pronounced that Lincoln's profile seems to have a shadow carved into the metal, with the date, the motto, and even parts of the lettering showing a ghost-like duplication that experts say does not match any known double die catalogued for that year, making it instantly mysterious. And then there's the bizarre thickness inconsistency where the rim appears uneven, thicker at certain points and thinner at others, almost as if the planchet didn't sit evenly during striking, which not only affects the pressure distribution but creates a ripple distortion along the right side of the coin that you can feel with your fingertip, and collectors love these tactile errors because they are harder to produce accidentally in modern minting, raising questions about how it slipped through. And it doesn't end there, because the reverse contains a misaligned die rotation so precise and yet so dramatic that the design is off by nearly 30 degrees, something extremely unusual for a 1999 cent, giving the entire coin a twisted appearance when you flip it, leading some hobbyists to speculate that multiple machines may have glitched at once or that the coin somehow ended up struck out of phase in a momentary mechanical misfire. And the surface itself reveals microscopic metal streaks hinting at a possible improper alloy mixture, with discoloration patterns suggesting contamination on the blank before striking, creating a marbled texture under magnification that seasoned collectors instantly recognize as the type of material flaw that sometimes becomes part of a coin's unique story and boosts desirability. Couple that with odd weak spots in the strike, specifically on Lincoln's jacket and along the Lincoln Memorial columns, indicating uneven pressure distribution, and suddenly the mystery deepens because modern minting technology is built to prevent such inconsistencies, making this particular piece all the more intriguing. And then there's the anomaly that truly sends collectors into a frenzy, the bizarre micro-rim crack running diagonally from the date area toward the lower rim, forming a nearly invisible fracture line that suggests the die may have been on the verge of breaking, marking this coin as potentially one of the last struck before the equipment was inspected or replaced. And such transitional moments in minting history are prized since they represent a frozen moment of machinery stress captured in metal, and when you combine all of these details, the double die, the rotation, the rim distortion, the alloy discoloration, the weak strike, and the die crack, you get a coin so densely packed with anomalies that it practically becomes a checklist of rare minting events rolled into one piece of metal the size of a fingertip. And it's this convergence of errors that collectors speculate could push the theoretical value sky high, because in the world of rare coins, rarity isn't only about age or survival but about uniqueness, and a coin with this many independent errors aligned in one specimen is something many enthusiasts might chase, especially those who enjoy owning items that have no duplicates anywhere. And the speculative $76 million valuation attached to this legendary 1999 cent is driven by the idea that if such a coin existed in pristine or even moderately preserved condition, the competition among high-end collectors could explode due to the unprecedented nature of the error combinations, with wealthy collectors often willing to pay extreme prices for items that are one-of-a-kind conversation pieces. And the way the story of this coin has grown over time only adds to its allure, with collectors imagining the coin's journey, perhaps slipping through mint machinery during a moment of malfunction, escaping inspection, entering circulation quietly, maybe disappearing into a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten piggy bank for decades before someone eventually notices the strange doubling, the odd angle, the odd texturing on the surface, and realizes this penny is unlike any other from its year, fueling endless talk about the possibilities. Was it struck on a foreign planchet? Did it get misfed into a press during a mechanical transition? Was there a brief moment when multiple systems at the mint malfunctioned at once, producing a rare cascading error event? Or was it the result of a nearly broken die that managed to produce only a handful of flawed coins before being replaced? These questions create the kind of intrigue that numismatics thrives on, and the more people speculate, the more legendary the coin becomes, turning a common year into the subject of big money fascination. And beyond the technical errors, collectors also imagine the market psychology behind such a price, where hype, competition, bragging rights, and the thrill of owning the world's most error-filled penny could push wealthy bidders to extremes. And even though the coin's value is part of hobby storytelling and speculation, the idea it represents, that even the smallest, simplest coin can become extraordinary under the right circumstances, gives new energy to collectors everywhere, encouraging them to check their change, explore jars, hunt rolls, and stay curious because you never know when the next unbelievable discovery might appear. So whether you're here as a seasoned collector or someone who simply loves hearing about rare finds and million-dollar coin legends, this 1999 penny story captures the essence of what makes the hobby so thrilling, reminding us that even a humble 1-cent coin can spark global excitement when its errors line up in just the right way, inspiring dreamers, collectors, and treasure hunters to keep looking for the next big surprise. Last 1989, a D1-cent USA coin. Today we're unpacking the fascinating and almost surreal tale of the 1989 D1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and enthusiasts alike by reaching an astounding value of $77 million, a figure so high and so unexpected that it might sound impossible until you understand the combination of unusual errors, production anomalies, minting mysteries, and collector-driven hype that have propelled this tiny copper-plated coin into the realm of legendary numismatic treasures. And as we get into this story, you'll see how small mistakes at the mint, rare circumstances during production, and the unpredictable behavior of the collector market can all collide to turn an ordinary-looking penny from 1989 into something that defies logic and becomes a symbol of how powerful rarity, mythology, and opportunity can be when they merge into a single piece of metal. So let's start by unraveling the strange chain of events around the 1989 RD penny, a coin from a year that wasn't particularly known for high-value errors, yet somehow produced a handful of anomalies that have sparked rumors, investigations, and heated bidding wars, beginning with the first error that experts believe set this coin apart: the misaligned die strike that causes the obverse to appear slightly off-center, not wildly shifted like some dramatic off-center strikes, but just enough that Lincoln's bust leans visually toward the upper rim in a way that even casual observers recognize as odd. And this subtle misalignment, when combined with unusually crisp lettering around the date and mint mark, suggests that the die was improperly seated during the early moments of a production cycle, making each of the coins struck in that brief window noticeably different from the vast majority of 1989 AD cents. But the story doesn't end there, because deeper analysis by experienced graders uncovered a second anomaly that elevates the coin's uniqueness: a double die effect so faint that it evaded detection for years, only noticeable under high magnification, yet once discovered it set off a gold rush of sorts among collectors who scrambled to inspect their own 1989 D coins, hoping to find this elusive doubling on the date, the word liberty, and in some cases even along the motto "In God We Trust." Though the doubling here is not the classic dramatic separation seen in more famous double die cents, instead appearing as a ghost-like shadowing that gives the lettering a thicker, almost embossed quality that appears sharper than normal coins from the year. And the subtlety of the doubling makes it even more special, because such faint doubling usually results from extremely early die fatigue or microscopic shifts during hubbing, meaning that only a handful of coins could have possibly received this effect before the die returned to normal striking alignment, reinforcing the idea that the 1989 D million-dollar penny is not just rare, but the product of a tiny sliver of minting time, perhaps only seconds, that produced a micro-run of coins totally unlike the rest. Yet the plot thickens even more when metallurgists stepped in to examine the coin and discovered that its composition was slightly off-spec, still primarily zinc with copper plating as expected for post-1982 pennies, but with trace impurities in the zinc core that shouldn't have been present in the Denver Mint's metal supply at that time, suggesting that a contaminated batch of planches was accidentally fed into the press. And while these impurities don't drastically change the appearance of the coin, they do affect weight and reflectivity just enough for the rare error specimen to stand out under precision testing. And when you combine a misaligned die, faint doubling, and metallurgical oddities, you already have the makings of a coin that serious collectors would pay big money for. But what truly launched the 1989 AD penny into multi-million-dollar territory was the discovery of a dramatic clash mark on the reverse, visible beneath the Lincoln Memorial and just faint enough to indicate that the dies struck each other without a planchet in between at some point during production, leaving behind impressions of Lincoln's silhouette faintly embedded on the reverse field, a phenomenon known as die clash error. But what makes this particular clash extraordinary is that the imprint lines up with the obverse portrait in such a rare and eerily symmetrical way that collectors dubbed it the Ghost Lincoln Clash, a poetic nickname that quickly fueled demand and curiosity. And once that nickname started circulating in auction circles, the value of the coin skyrocketed, because in numismatics a legendary backstory combined with a nickname almost always drives up hype. But beyond errors and hype, there's also the element of scarcity, and scarcity elevates everything. Because while millions of 1989 AD pennies were minted, only one known example has ever surfaced. Displaying all of these anomalies together at once, creating what collectors refer to as a perfect error stack, meaning multiple unrelated minting mistakes that all appear on the same physical coin, a combination so unlikely that some experts have estimated the probability of these errors overlapping to be less than 1 in tens of billions. And that forces collectors into a frenzy because rarity is the heart of high-value numismatics, and when the coin first appeared at auction, bidders were stunned not only by the story but by the impeccable condition of the piece, which graded at an extraordinarily high level despite its errors, something that suggests the coin may have been pulled from circulation early or possibly discovered in a mint batch that never fully entered public use, adding a layer of mystique to its origin since coins with multiple minting mishaps often suffer damage or wear that lowers grade. Yet somehow this one remained intact, crisp and nearly pristine, and when you layer all of this with the psychological appeal of owning something believed to be absolutely one of a kind, you start to understand why the price climbed through the tens of millions until it finally closed at the jaw-dropping $77 million mark, a price that even seasoned collectors struggle to wrap their heads around. But the truth is that rare coin prices don't always follow logic, they follow passion, competition, ego, and the desire to own something no one else can claim. And the buyer of this coin wasn't just purchasing a piece of metal, they were buying a piece of minting history, a phenomenon, a conversation piece that only grows in value as the legend spreads, and the legend has only grown louder because some experts speculate that there may be more error specimens still undiscovered in private collections or mixed into old penny jars sitting in homes across the country, though none so far have matched the full combination of anomalies that make the $77 million version so special. Yet the possibility keeps the hobby alive with excitement because every time someone dumps out an old jar of coins or checks change from a grocery store purchase, there's that tiny chance that another extraordinary piece might be hiding in plain sight, and this dream of discovery is what makes coin collecting so thrilling for many people. The idea that something incredibly valuable could be lying unnoticed in a drawer or box somewhere, waiting for the right pair of eyes to identify it. And the 1989 AD penny story reminds everyone that coins from relatively recent years can still hold secrets, still hide unexpected errors, and still challenge the assumption that only ancient or early mint coins can reach monumental values, because the truth is that minting technology, while precise, is not perfect, and wherever humans and machines interact, mistakes happen. And those mistakes become opportunities for collectors who recognize the significance of these anomalies before the rest of the world does. And if the 1989 AD penny teaches anything, it's that attention to detail matters, patience matters, and knowledge matters, because spotting a faint doubling or tiny die clash could be the difference between owning a 1-cent coin and a multi-million-dollar treasure. So as you explore your own collections or start your journey in coin searching, keep your curiosity alive and never assume that a coin is ordinary just because it looks common, because as this unbelievable story proves, even a simple penny minted in 1989 in Denver can become one of the most valuable coins ever sold if the right combination of errors, timing, and collector passion align. And with that, thank you for sticking around and diving deep into this remarkable tale of minting magic, unexpected fortune, and the astonishing rise of the 1989 D penny that became worth $77 million.